Hi, it is Danielle with the Buy, Sell, Love SoCal team here, and today we're going to talk solar.
Solar.
Sun energy.
Before we do that, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You'll never miss a thing we bring you. All sorts of interesting content, right?
Solar's super popular. I mean, we have so many questions.
We do.
Absolutely. So let's start with our guest introducing himself.
Well, thank you for having me. My name is David O'Hara. My company is O'Hara Solar.
You're fun to listen to, so hey, a reason to stick around.
We might forget to ask questions because we'll just be listening.
I know.
The accent.
Mesmerized by the accent, right?
Okay, but let's get into it. So how long have you been doing this? Tell us the things that you see. We want to know everything that a homeowner may care about, including maintenance.
Well, to answer your first question, we've been doing solar for about 3 years now in Southern California. And as you've already said, it's very popular right now, and that's because of the rising electricity rates. What we see the most is homeowners who don't know who to talk to. They don't know where to start. And that's quite possibly because their family member, their neighbor has had a bad experience and they're a little shy to dive in because they're not sure if they could trust someone to put solar on their most valuable asset, their home.
Quick poll. I have solar. You have solar?
I have solar.
No.
Not yet. Okay. Just gauging.
We'll talk later then.
Yeah.
So it's 2 out of 3 of you already have solar.
Yeah.
And 5% of California has solar, so there's a long way to go.
Only 5%.
And it's mandatory now for new builds to have solar, right?
Yes, even if, whether you're building a 10,000 square foot commercial building or a 500 square foot ADU in your backyard that needs some sort of solar.
I always wonder about that because I
wow.
know that it's mandatory now, but I always feel like the systems are so small. So like, is it a very small requirement, or what do you?
The system, I've always found that the minimum that they require is not big enough for that particular property.
Significantly, okay.
And some homeowners say that's okay, I just want to enjoy my new property. Others say, let's do it properly and enjoy the savings that we can get along with the new home.
That was a crazy statistic. Only 5%. I feel like I see it everywhere.
know,
So the
right?
fact that only 5% have it is wild.
Well, I drive down a lot of streets and I have to say 1 in 10 seem to have it from what I've noticed.
Yeah.
So what is the, I don't know, kind of, if you can give us averages, how many panels or what kind of system does the average homeowner need, average costs, lease versus buy?
Oh, so many questions.
Give us
all
a,
at
yes, sorry.
I don't have a simple answer for all those questions.
Let's start with the cost, because I know that's a hot button and a lot of people look at that first and foremost. So we've heard of power purchase agreements, we've heard of leases, and we've heard of financing, and obviously you can pay cash. What do you guys offer?
We only offer the programs that allow you to own your system.
Okay.
And that is, of course, by paying cash or by financing.
Okay, so no leasing, no PPA.
We don't encourage them.
Okay.
What is your reason for that? Because
We have our reasons.
we have our reasons. I know that's how we did it, but I'm
like
just
that,
curious.
I know your reasons. My reason is solar's a cash flow tool. It's wonderful for the environment, but most of our clients do it for the financial savings of it all. And when we run the numbers out, it more often than not comes out better for them to own their system.
Okay, got it.
The tax credit is a huge reason for that.
Yeah.
So if you lease or power purchase agreement, you don't get that tax credit.
I feel like the power purchase agreement, and just so if you guys don't know, that's where you are pre-negotiating a rate with the company that does your solar in order to purchase the energy. And that's in a nutshell, right?
That's exactly correct.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between a lease and a PPA? Well, you don't own the system with either. Now a lease will be, let's put 20 solar panels on your roof.
Right.
And let's charge you, let's just use round numbers, $50 per month for each of those solar panels. And that, like leasing a car, just a set amount every month.
Yeah.
Power purchase agreement is exactly as the name says. Here's 20 solar panels. Whatever it generates will charge you a set rate for each kilowatt hour that it generates. The idea is that, or let's hope, that kilowatt hour you negotiated is less than what Edison or whoever your utility company is going to charge you anyway.
Isn't that the kicker with the PPA, is that rate actually goes up every year?
Yeah.
And they are hedging their bet and playing off of your fear that they're telling you this increase is going to be lower than the increase that Edison is going to have every single year.
Well, to be fair, Edison does have their increases published pretty far out, years and years and years.
Sure.
But still,
But
not
to
the,
see the
not
average
the 30
consumer
years of
doesn't
the
know
PPA.
Yeah, because this one
so-
says, hey, you're just going to go up and up and up every single year. But hey, it's going to be less than Edison. I don't know.
The theory is correct. The theory actually makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? But there isn't always an escalator. That's an annual escalator. Your solar company could choose to not have an escalator. They could
Okay,
choose to
got
charge
it.
you 2.9% every
Okay.
year after that. So who you work with and how you negotiate with the solar company that
Yeah.
you're contracted will determine that price.
Seems like a gamble. I don't know. Seems
Okay.
like it's better to just own.
So clearly, this is not a question that is. This isn't to your benefit. When you are looking at people from the very beginning, install, right? We are often coming with buyers who are looking at properties that already have solar, right? So sure, Mr. Seller, when they installed solar, they probably would have been better off if they had done it as a purchase and not as a lease. But if I'm a buyer, the kind of hierarchy of like things that make sense. Yeah, the best thing is to buy a house that's got owned solar because then you just own it outright and you don't have an extra payment. Is a power purchase agreement still better in your opinion than not having solar at all? Does that question make sense?
If you've negotiated the correct, what John's saying here is, well, what happens if my escalator clause is so much that at year 10, I'm in fact paying more?
What
So the
happens
terms
if the
of that
sellers really got
PPA,
bamboozled?
that's the
Yeah.
thing that when you are buying a property, cool, it has solar, but if it's got something like a PPA, you really need to like make sure you understand the terms.
Absolutely. If I'm buying that home, I'm asking for that contract from
Mm-hmm.
the seller, and I'm really looking at that to see what are we looking at here.
What are the things that you're looking at
How
that if
long
you're a
is the
buyer?
agreement, number one, and what is the rate that we're at? So let's say it was put on 10 years ago, and the rate started out at 15 cents per kilowatt hour. Now we're up to 22 cents per kilowatt hour. Is that less than what Edison would have charged me anyway? As of right now, the answer is yes. Now, I have 10 more years left on this. I have 15 more years left on this. Well, if it's a good deal, I'm excited to have 15 more years left on this. If it's a bad deal, I'm not so excited about this. In fact, I'm buying a house that has got a liability on it. I'm not excited about that at all.
I say one of the actual hidden costs that I've seen in one of these power purchase agreements a couple years ago was the expense of taking the panels off the roof if the roof needed to be replaced. So I had buyers that went, got into escrow. This home had solar, but the roof needed to be replaced, which is sort of unusual because I feel like usually the cities are requiring that be. Is that a thing that the city looks at before they'll issue a permit usually?
It's more the installers.
Okay.
The installer will want to make sure that your roof is ready for solar because it's not, well, they're responsible for where the racking system penetrates the roof. They're responsible for that. They
So
have to
for
warranty that.
whatever reason, this home had solar put on it just a few years prior, and the roof was in desperate need of replacement. Well, one of the things we looked at on that power purchase agreement was not just the rates, but it was going to be like $500 per panel to remove them. There was
put 'em
like
back.
only they could do the removal. They had to charge for like storage or something. So now you know you need a new roof. That's going to be $20,000 or $30,000, but that costs doubled
There's a huge payday built in for
because
them.
of the amount it was going to cost to take it off the roof. So I just thought that was an interesting thing I'd run into. It's not even just the cost
So
of
they
the...
definitely took advantage of that.
It's
homeowner.
terrible. It's terrible.
Okay, so I've got a question that comes up all the time. You're going to have had this and you're going to have had this. And so can you tell us a little bit more about what goes into the decision in this question? So buyers will say, oh, the house has solar. Can I see their electricity bills? And I'm always very hesitant to bring those electricity bills in because it's so
doesn't matter.
subjective. It doesn't matter.
people run the
What if there's a
air?
family of 9 living in the house and they're running the air at 68 and we have grandparents that are moving in that like it warm? So what goes into basically building a system for a house? Like what criteria do you use?
Okay, your utility bill tells us pretty much everything we need to know. Let's say you're in Southern California Edison. You could be in Anaheim, it's Anaheim Public Utilities, but let's say you're a Southern California Edison customer. On page 2 or 3 of your bill, there's a chart. That chart shows us your last 12 months of usage. That's a wonderful foundation for how much energy this home uses. So let's build a system to generate at least that much. Now you need a little bit more of a buffer, but let's generate at least what we need. Well, then you could look at the home that you're buying, and whether you get to know your seller or not, you could, put an idea on that. You could have a 9-family home moving out and a couple with 1 child moving in,
And you're going to have a huge...
and now you're super excited. Reverse the roles. Now you're not as excited.
Yeah.
Right, when you read the listing and it's like, they don't have electricity bills. Well, that's cool if there's
That's-
2 of them and they never
yeah.
run the air, but you're
I
going to
hate
bring
when I
a
see
family
that.
of 7. Like, that doesn't mean anything, like you said, but...
Correct.
And then also, isn't there a lot to go into the choice of electricity plan that you can choose from Edison? So,
Oh
you
my
know,
goodness, time of use rates
yeah,
and...
there's a lot that goes into that too.
We're all getting moved over to time of use. And when you go solar, you're definitely getting moved on to time of use. but you don't care because you went solar.
Do they have different time of use tracks or something?
Well, you could have a 4 to 9.
Okay.
Or you could have a 5 to 8, and you think, well, I'll take the 5. That's the peak time. Time of use 4 to 9 means 4 to 9 p.m. is the peak time. 5 to 8 is the peak time.
And that's where you get that really reduced rate.
No, it's when
Increased rate. It's more expensive.
The 5 to 8 is during these 3 hours, you're at maximum cost.
Got it. Okay, got it. Okay.
So other people say, well, I'll take the 5 to 8. 3 hours is better than, but the rates are significantly
So much higher.
on
Okay,
those
got
3
it.
hours. So you have to decide between yourself. When do we come home from work? When do we turn the air conditioner on? And you can guesstimate yourself what you should do. There's another rate called the prime, which is if you have a Tesla or another electric vehicle, you want to charge your car at nighttime, then I would recommend the prime. So there's those real 3 options that you really need to look at and think, when do we actually use our electricity?
So it's really taking in a family's actual needs.
Very,
based off
yes.
their bill, based off their needs.
Absolutely, but let me go a step further. You might send Edison energy at 11 a.m. because you're not home. Your system's generating lots of energy, you're barely using any. You're going to get a dollar amount for every kilowatt hour that you send them. Then you come home, and now it's the panel. Let's say it's 8 p.m. The panels are no longer producing, and you're on 5 to 8. Right there, you're at that peak time. You're not pulling back that same credit you sent them earlier. You're taking a whole new one back at a new rate. Well, that rate is not what you sent it to them at 11 a.m. This is why we overbuild our solar systems.
Okay, I was going to ask you. So you would rather see a home overbuilt
Yep.
because they're going to
25% is the sweet spot.
Oh, wow.
just to like allow
Wow,
room for
25%,
growth in the
okay.
family or an electric car, and at the end of the day, they get the money back if they generated more. Is that a thing that happens?
We want
or-
to try to break even.
Okay.
Taking a check from Edison never seems to work out in the sense of.
I haven't heard anybody who ever took a check from
Well,
Edison.
they'll pay you the wholesale rate.
Right, which is 5 cents a kilowatt.
In the right.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's just roll those credits over.
Yeah.
I would rather roll a kilowatt hour over to save me 60 cents later than to take a 5 cent
So you have the option to either take a check or roll the.
most of the time.
It reminds me of rollover minutes back in the day on the
Oh my
Exactly.
goodness.
Don't look at my gray hair. When you said that, I'm
Okay.
like, rollover minutes.
You said something really interesting. You put money in, or you put energy back into Edison, and they'll pay you wholesale. So let's dispel a myth.
at the end of the
At the
year.
end of the year. So let's dispel a myth. When you have solar, just a basic solar system, you are not off grid. You are in a grid connected system. So when the electricity comes out,
When they
turns
do
off
a
in your-
blackout,
when
like
there's
they're
a blackout,
doing here,
you turn off.
unless
You have a battery. And why are batteries not a good idea, or are they a good idea?
They are a wonderful idea if you don't care about money, I suppose is what I would say.
Because they're super expensive,
very
right?
expensive.
they'll be a great idea once they figure out how to make them have more
Made out of
power.
paper. Yeah,
and,
there you go.
and cheaper.
I mean, I have not put one in my own home yet.
Yeah.
I would like them to come down in price. I would like them to be able to store twice as much. I don't want them to get twice as big, though, because they're already big enough.
It's all about the ROI, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, what is the benefit of a battery? I'll tell you the theory is that instead of you sending energy to Edison at 11 o'clock, send it to the battery, charge the battery up. So at nighttime when the panels go down, you're not taking that
Battery
credit back or that energy back at 60 cents, you're just discharging your battery.
Right.
That's the theory. Do you have enough storage to do that?
So if not a battery, they're just kind of old school. You need a generator if you want to have power when the power goes out.
It is old school, but I recommend it.
Okay.
Now, John, you said something very interesting there is, and a lot of people will be surprised at that. Why does solar not work when the grid is down? Because the solar panels are on the roof. They send that energy into my main electrical panel. There's a solar breaker in there. That the home takes the energy first. So surely if Edison's down, surely I can still get that energy during the day and will not worry about Edison. Inside the inverter box, let's say you choose N phase for your inverter. There's a rapid shutdown switch in there. Now, if it senses that the grid is not functional, that rapid shutdown switch kicks in and will not allow the energy to pass that point. The inverter box is before your main electrical panel.
Oh, okay.
The energy is not getting passed there into your home. So that what I'm very careful to say is to my clients, I know you asked me about a battery. I still have to tell you though, it's not going to work. You will not generate energy when the grid is down. Your home will not run if the grid is down unless you have an alternate source, whether it be by a battery or a generator. And a generator could be hooked up to a propane tank, gas canister, or your natural gas line. which is what I recommend. So you don't have to haul it
Yeah.
out of the garage.
Thought about that.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it.
If they let us have natural gas anymore, you know,
I know, right?
California.
That's a
Well,
whole nother-
Los Angeles County.
Whole nother topic, yeah.
Yeah.
Banning
Natural gas appliances.
Okay.
I guess generator would fall under that.
So you were talking about end phase. I know we talked a little bit before filming about equipment, and that's like your equipment of choice.
Yep.
If somebody is buying a home where the system is already there, we've already said you need to look at the terms of if it's a power purchase agreement or whatever. Should they also be concerned with the equipment? I mean, I know it's
And warranties.
Yeah, is there such thing as
transferring.
like, inspecting a solar system or?
is there
No, does
something
that
that they
exist?
want to like? If it's this, they want to not buy it. You know, there's
Or be
Well,
careful.
absolutely, because you don't want to buy a system that doesn't even work.
it's like those old panels when you run into like a
Zinsco.
zinc.
Yeah,
Exactly.
if I see a house that has a Zinsco panel, I'm like, well, this is a fire hazard. It's gonna burst
like
up in
I'm
flames.
wondering if there's an equivalent.
Is
in
there
the
an
solar
inverter or a
world.
whatever? I'm probably using terms out of context. That is an alarming term or an alarming equipment that you guys don't like.
I would not get too concerned about, there's equipment that I do not like. I certainly love NPAs for our inverters. But more importantly, is the system even working? And that's when your clients are absolutely correct to ask for those utilities. Show me the bills.
You just want to know it's working.
I need to know it's working. You have possibly increased the price of this home to account for the solar system that I'm purchasing off you. I need to make sure it's working.
I've literally never thought about that. If I'm helping a buyer and it's an owned system,
Yeah.
like aside from like
Is
just
it
an
actually
inspection,
functioning?
is it actually functioning? Let's look at the
Because there's
electric
no real way to
bills.
tell.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there is if you look at the bills, but that's the
I was
way.
going to say, if
the
an
only way.
owner has a bill from a year before they had the solar, and then a year, right,
Well,
modern day, and they
Yeah.
have
you
the
can tell
solar,
from
you can,
the current bill if it's generating or not. Like I never thought of
Well,
that.
there is another way to know. Do you have a monitoring app?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So that app's going to show you what are we producing. So I would say to the seller, could I please get access to your Enphase or your Solar Edge, if that's the inverter, monitoring system?
Yep.
And there's
And
often surprises in there.
Do most solar companies monitor the system for you and alert you if there's anything wrong, or is that on the owner's responsibility to monitor their own system?
I wouldn't say most. Some do offer that.
Okay.
Every single night, I always check my clients to make sure that their panels are
Okay.
doing what they're meant to be doing.
Good. Yeah. I got notified the other day that something went out in my roof, and they said we ordered the part and it'll be repaired in a week. And I'm like, oh, cool. I didn't even know. Like, it just happens, you know.
That's really good. But
and then
that's
there's
not
just
always.
general maintenance,
I was
cleaning.
gonna say, yeah,
them.
maintenance.
So
They gotta be
cleaning, yes.
cleaned.
Do you
Stuff.
have to clean them?
Yes, I just had a
When my
client go through
husband
that.
cleans our panels, we get a significantly better output. Like
You
I've
will.
seen it night and day.
You will. Does the
here's-
rain clean it though?
The rain probably makes it dirtier.
Oh, okay.
When it rains, he'll get up there and scrub it, and then it like.
I never cleaned my panels.
But let me ask you this.
10 years.
Don't worry about it, because you could pay, how much you pay to clean your solar panels?
My husband does it.
How much your husband pay to clean? Oh, he does it himself?
He literally
Well,
does
that's
it.
a good return on investment.
Right.
Let's say
I won't be cleaning mine.
Just
It's
don't
too
die.
small.
Okay, no, I had clients a couple years ago when we listed their house. Do you remember the one in the preserve,
Yep,
Emily?
yep,
And
yep.
we got it was a window cleaner who actually came into the panels. I don't remember what he charged, but it felt reasonable.
$150, $200.
But is
Yeah.
it going to generate
seems
that
I had a
much
client
more?
just have to
Two-story
do
house would be
that
more expensive.
in your Belinda.
So if you spend $200 to clean your solar panels every year,
And that's all you're getting more out of
will
it.
we get in more production
Yeah.
DIY.
at Edison's
Get up there and
rate?
scrub it yourself.
Yeah.
That's a good way to guarantee a return on investment.
Maybe once every 5 years? I'm going for the once every 10 years. I've never done it. so-
Feels like a lot to me.
Okay.
Ours are easily accessible. He can like do it from the lawn. There's a long thing where it's
Right.
not that hard. If you're having to like get up on the roof, if it was that difficult, he probably wouldn't.
So if a solar company comes to you and says, I'll clean your panels and you're going to get 20% return on investment, that's probably not.
True.
It depends where your solar panels are positioned on you. Are you at the front or the back of the house?
Mine are in the back. Yeah, they're south facing. Yeah,
Perfect.
solid. Yeah.
So you'll get a good return on your investment.
Okay.
North, not so much.
Not so
Okay,
much.
if
But
it's
you're
clean, okay,
already
got it.
kind of.
But if they're on the
not
front of
getting-
your home, I'm sure you'd like them nice and shiny and clean when your guests come over and say, well, this is well maintained.
Mine
home.
are right in front, which is part of why we need them clean because
So
you
that's-
see them right as you drive up.
And
That
yours
to
are
me
black
is-
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
so they've really, yeah.
Yeah, they need to be clean.
That's the bigger reason to do it, in my opinion.
Okay.
Is, well, if I want them nice and shiny. They look way better when they're
Curb
nice and
appeal,
shiny.
yeah.
You
Well,
will
my
get more
client
production.
noticed it because his energy bill went up. So he had Edison come out and do an energy inspection at his house
Oh,
to see what was going on, what was happening. And they went up there and they said, well, you need to clean your solar panels. So he
I
had
guess
that
to
done,
that
and
point-
it was, his bill went down.
interesting.
Other maintenance would be things like trimming trees to make sure they're not blocking your production, or
absolutely.
what else should you keep in mind?
Well, shade isn't good for solar panels.
Right.
They generate energy based on the sunlight. So absolutely,
be looking out for that.
Yes. Now, we get clients that say, David, I'm never trimming that tree down. Put the panels elsewhere. That's fine.
As long as you know it.
Others that say, I want maximum return on my solar investment. How do I do that? And I say, trim the tree down. And they
Yep.
say, you got it.
I've noticed that on really, really hot days, my solar production is a little bit lower. Is that a chemical thing? Like, why is that? It's like 115 and the solar production just drops down a little bit.
Weird.
Yeah.
Wonderful question.
I've heard that's because the protons and neutrons or whatever, electrons
Why
are
are we
bumping
even
into each other.
discussing at this point?
I'm just curious, is it helpful if you're in like a hotter environment to have solar or?
To a certain degree.
Okay.
Excuse the pun. When you look at your monitoring, we all got there. When you look
Took
at
me
your
a second.
monitoring, does the bell curve
Yeah.
flatten?
Yeah.
That's on the extremely hot days.
Okay, yeah. Cool.
It
Because
could
that's
be-
that's like a misnomer. Buyers are like, oh, it's really hot where I live. Like, I'm
That's
going to get a
good.
lot more electricity. Yeah.
It's called clipping.
Okay.
Your inverter can only handle so much of the energy being sent through the
Got
solar
it.
panel. At some point, it's just going to level off, and then as it cools down, then you
Interesting.
can get going again.
Okay.
So give us an idea of average costs and how financing works.
Okay. Difficult question to answer because
Okay.
every home on this street across from this building is different. They might all be the same size. They may all have pools and air conditioners. Some will have Teslas or electric vehicles, some will not. But it's the habits of the homeowner that will determine how many panels that you need. That 12-month chart I told you about on that page 2 of that Edison bill, always different. Always different. I want to look at that chart. I want to see how many kilowatt hours this home used in the last 12 months. And you would not believe how two extremely similar families can have such differing. It's usually the AC. The AC is usually the biggest culprit. So in answer to your question, how much does it cost? It absolutely is different for everybody. If I had to give you a number, I would say the average system here in Southern California is about $30,000
Okay.
cash. But you asked about financing.
And that's before tax credits.
And that is before your 30% tax credit.
Okay.
Which just went back up. It should have been 26 this year.
Yeah.
Now it goes 30, and it's going to be 30 for 10 more years.
Okay.
So that's nice. Now, financing, you're still owning your system. Now, we're not talking about PPAs or leases anymore. We're talking about owning our system. I hate paying Edison $500 a month, but I do not have $30,000 for my solar. I'm stuck. No, you're not. We offer financing, and that could be in a 5-year loan at 6%. That could be a 25-year loan at 2%. And you're probably looking at me thinking, well, give me the lowest interest rate. Well, when you have your clients buying homes, they have the option to buy down the rate. It's no different with solar.
No.
You could buy that rate down to a ridiculous interest rate. Even today, I could get 1.49% on a solar loan,
Wow.
which even a home loan probably won't get
That's
that low.
exactly how
That's
we
very
did it. We did
fascinating.
it through a credit union.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Financed, and then now we own it because we did a refi on the house when rates were still reasonable to do a refi. But yeah, we
Paid it off.
But if you used a credit union, you were a cash client to your solar company.
right.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we do have cash. So if you did that, you would be a cash client to me.
Interesting,
It's not
okay.
my business where you get your money
Sure.
from. But if you need me to finance it
Options.
for you, let me show you these options.
Got it.
Now, if you intend on paying this off in 5 years, go for a higher interest rate loan because there's a lower fee. If you intend on saving as much money as possible every single month, go for the longest loan with the lowest interest rate. There are fees in there, but you've achieved your goal.
Okay.
Wow.
So it seems like there's something for everybody.
There's something for everybody. 95% of our clients finance on a 20-year 1.49 because it just makes the most financial. We're doing this to save money. And if cash is not an option, then let's find out the best way to save as much money as possible every month. And that's the 20-year 1.49.
Do you ever go on a consultation and you say, you know what? I don't think solar is a good choice for you.
Way too often.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
way too often.
Based on usage or house or a combination of all the above?
Both. Let's talk about the house. We have a lot of homeowners that say, when I walk out my front door, I'm facing south, like yourself. I'm not putting solar panels in the front of my house.
Okay.
Okay, let's have a look at the back, the north. Well, a north side solar panel will generate significantly less energy than a south side, and we could get to the point where it's in fact not worth your while. More often than not, it is still worth their while, but when you add in shading at that point, I would just say it's just not time.
Interesting.
If your energy bill is not high enough, is there a point in investing in solar panels when paying my utility bill every month is just cheaper? That actually happens a lot. If you're not spending at least $100 a month, it's very unlikely solar's worth your while.
I have neighbors like that. They say it's usually around 80 to 90, even in the summer. Yeah.
In Rancho?
He runs his air sorry, Namal, at like 80 degrees. And I'm like, I would die.
Can you even walk into his house? You like melt. You.
Yeah, I don't know, but he just likes it warmer than I do. And so, yeah, his bill's always very cheap.
Good for him.
Probably not worth his while to go solar then.
No, that's what, because he was asking about solar one time, and I'm like, no, you guys should not do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
The other thing I'm starting to think about is the implications for people if they know they're not going to be at the home very long. Because, I mean, if you get something like a PPA where it can transfer, but that's got its own implications that we should probably discuss. I've had escrows interrupted by that process.
Well, affects the buyer's affordability, or debt to income ratio.
Or if they're not answering, there was one time with Tesla where it just, they wouldn't do it. So I think we got held up a month by them not doing the transfer because you can't close the escrow without the transfer. But if you think you're only going to own the home for another 2 years, maybe it doesn't make sense because even finance, you can't transfer financing, right? So you're going to have to pay that
Paid off
off.
with the sell.
You
with
can.
You can
If
transfer.
the buyer, like we just discussed it, if they can qualify. They
Oh.
may not qualify. They're already buying a home.
That's interesting.
They might be at their limits. Can
So
they
it
take on
doesn't-
a little bit more debt? Maybe not.
Interesting.
Or it could be seller paid, negotiated, that seller paid off through the close of escrow.
Correct. And isn't it wonderful to market your home as paid off solar? It might not be, but the intention is to have escrow pay it off.
Yeah.
We have
With
one
the
right
right-
now.
Yeah, we're going to just pay it off in
So-
escrow. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Oh my gosh, why am I just totally blanking on my question there? Never mind, come back
I should
to
probably
me.
answer your question
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
then. It is transferable.
Okay.
And it's probably not worth your while if you're going to sell your home in 2 years.
Right.
Because unless you really believe, you know, I've put solar on this home and I have got my future buyer a wonderful deal, that the headache of that little extra solar requirement and disclosure is still worth it, then go ahead. But if you think, you know, I'm in this for myself, and if I'm selling in 2 years, I don't want another headache when I'm selling, even if it is a wonderful deal. They still could have got it themselves.
Yeah.
So you have to really determine what type of a deal am I getting here, and does this increase the, number one, the value of my home, but number two, the sellability of the home.
And we'll answer that question, I mean, from a,
Leases do not.
well, and
increase
even owned
the
homes, we
value.
see very few,
Owned is
not,
tough.
not
Yeah.
nearly as much value as you spent on the system ends up
It's like a pool.
on the appraisal
It's
in
similar
value.
to a pool. Yeah.
So,
Sometimes the appraisers will give dollar for dollar what they spent, but sometimes they
Not
won't.
Very
often,
rarely.
no.
Not often. Yeah, it's very similar to pool.
And
but
there's such ambiguity in knowing how the system generates. Appraisers aren't asking to know what the return is as far as if the solar system that they installed on their house is worth it or not.
like
you
for
know, so-
marketability, sure,
Marketability
if
is
there's
huge.
2 homes next to each other and they're both the same, but one has own solar, yeah, that's going to be
Done
the one
deal.
that sells.
Buyers
Done
will
deal.
take that any day.
More?
Exactly.
Probably not. Or is the appraiser going to give more? You know.
Maybe, yeah.
How about
Last year,
warranty?
yeah.
Is there a warranty on the panels, on the installation, and can that transfer to a new buyer if for some reason you did have to sell?
Yes, Danielle, it depends on the contract. It depends on your solar, the contract that you sign with your solar installer.
The answer to every question is it depends.
It really is.
It does.
Okay.
There is an answer, but it
Yeah.
all just seems to depend.
How long does an average panel last, and how long does an average inverter
Yes.
last? LG
Both
300 watt
questions,
It
panel.
depends.
both questions bring in the same topic of answer. The manufacturer will provide a warranty
Okay.
on those solar panels and on those inverters. Now, Enphase and my favorite solar panel, Q cells, offer 25 years. There's 2 different types of warranty on a solar panel. One is the product. Is the product in the condition that it's meant to be? And number 2 is the production. Is it producing what it's meant to be producing? The solar panels have something called a degradation rate. Q cells will generate, according to their manufacturer's warranty, 0.5% less every single year.
Okay.
So they still, however, say for 25 years, though, we're going to guarantee everything's going to be fine. You'll still get more production after that. The warranty just stops at that point. In other words, if it goes down, they're not going to give you a free one. But if it's working, you'll still generate lots of energy, no different for Enphase. Now, what is also very important with the solar system, probably more important, in fact, is the warranty on your roof and the labor. So wonderful, we can get a free panel for the next 25 years. You know, if it's proven that it was broken. But who's going to put it up there? Now, California state requires any solar installer to give at least a 10-year warranty on the labor and the roof. What do I mean by roof? Well, these solar panels aren't just floating on top of your shingles. They're obviously bolted into your roof, into the rafters. Well, there's a penetration required to do that. Now it's flashed and it's sealed up and it's waterproof, etc. But homeowners want to know that it's actually done correctly. And if it wasn't done correctly, that I'm covered. Well, the minimum is 10 years on that. So where that racking system, where that screw goes into your roof, that itself will be warranted for at least 10 years. Some will do 20. Some will go through another company called Solar Insure, which is 30 years. Same thing for the labor. Look, if anything goes wrong, how long can I go that I could just call you and you'll come back out and fix it? The minimum is 10. If you have Solar Insure, or your installer just said, I'll just give you 30 years, then it's 30 years. For 30 years, if you have an issue, I will come out and replace that panel. We'll order it from the supplier. Once it arrives, give me a call, and we'll go and install it for you. Same with an inverter.
I literally crawled into my attic the first time it rained after I got my solar system.
Just to double check.
And I was up there with a flashlight because I was positive it was going to leak. It has never leaked.
Good.
But I was just like, how could this not leak? How is this
That's
possible?
such a John thing to do.
I was just like in there.
He's like camping up there, waiting.
Sounds like
For a drop.
Your solar company did a wonderful job.
They did. They did a wonderful job. They did great. Couldn't be more happy.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You saving money?
Well, yeah. So I calculated my ROI at 6 years, and so I'm at 10 years now. And you know, I usually, not to get into the mechanics of the bills and everything, but I usually pay about $900 total a year on my bill. But I run my air at 68 at night and 73 in the day, like clockwork.
Wow.
And I live in Rancho Cucamonga.
Even when you get the alerts that say, don't do that.
We're not
I
talking
just
about
told you
that.
that.
Cut.
Bad citizen.
I am not going to be hot. So my air runs at 68 and 73, 68 and 73. So yeah, it works out well. So I would say $900 per year, and I've had electric cars here and there. So I'd say it's pretty good.
That is your true-up bill every year.
Yep.
One time you pay.
Yep, about $900, yeah.
Okay, so the true-up bill is very important because if you didn't think you were going to get one, wouldn't that be a bit of a nasty surprise? Did you get a nasty surprise?
Oh no, the first year I knew exactly how it was going to work, but I get a lot of clients are like, hey, I just, like
your
my
supplemental tax
Edison
bill.
bill is,
Shock.
or we'll see this advertised in listings all the time, electric bill is $0 every month. And I'm like, no,
Okay,
what's the end of the year?
You can't. Well,
Yeah.
and you cannot advertise
No.
that the buyer is going to have
Again,
a
because
$0 bill
subjectivity.
because.
Yeah.
Definitely
Okay.
cannot advertise
Yeah.
$0.
Yeah.
My lord, this is why when it comes to buying and selling a house that has solar on it, you need agents who actually understand the mechanics of these things. We would never advertise your house as having a $0 bill because that's false advertising. We
Yeah.
know
But I
when
see
you're
that all
buying.
the
And that's
time.
how you get in trouble.
crazy.
All the time.
Yes,
That's
when
how you're
somebody
gonna get in
comes and
trouble.
sues you, Mr. Seller, because they expected to have a $0 bill
And at
because
the end of
that's
the
what
year,
the
you
listing
get a
says, and you get a
$900
bill.
Correct
My
me if I'm
lord.
wrong. Most everyone on solar pays a connection fee every month, and then you get
Yeah.
a true-up bill at the end of the year.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't you have to pay the taxes? and
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah. Mine's like $15 or
Excise
something
tax
like
or
that.
whatever, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a battery, you don't have a generator, when the solar panels go down, you're pulling energy back from the grid.
Yeah.
Now, even if you generated so much during the day and sent it to your utility company that offset those, the fact that you're still pulling something from them hits a tax, the little taxes. Non-bypassable charges, they're called. Can't get away from them. They are what they are, but they're usually not too bad
Yeah.
compared to what you were paying before you went
Oh
solar.
yeah, I was
anyway.
like $400 to $500 a month.
But why do you get a true-up bill? I went solar. Why do I keep having to pay these guys? Your system's too small. It might not have been 10 years ago.
It wasn't 10 years ago. Yeah. Yeah.
Degradation.
You've added two
Oh,
humans
I've
to your
added
household. And
2 people and
Yep.
yes, yes.
That's the reason. That's why we got to overbuild these systems to begin with.
Yeah.
So that in 20 years you're still okay.
As decorative, yeah.
Yeah.
Now a true-up bill is very simply you get it because in the last 12 months what you sent them and what you would
Right.
pay for what you sent them
Was less than what I produced.
than
Yeah.
what
Oh
you
my
were-
goodness, with work from home being such a thing the last 2 years, I'm sure people who thought that they overbuilt their system really had
Yeah.
a rude awakening at how much they were.
Correct.
Yeah.
But it's actually the electric vehicles that are causing
yeah.
the most surprises right now.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, you can't have your gas bill go to zero and then be surprised when your electricity bill goes up.
Yeah,
with
and
it.
while charging them is cheaper than you'd think, but still it adds to the pot. Yeah.
All right.
for anybody, I recommend if you have an electric vehicle, solar or not, charge that thing at nighttime.
Oh yeah.
Not charging.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can set your, like my car is
Yeah.
set. I have a plug-in hybrid and it's set to not charge. Like I plug it in,
Yep.
but it doesn't start charging until the time of use
Yeah.
rate is correct at 10 p.m. or whatever. So
Bingo.
Dude. All right,
This
this
has been
video,
our longest-
this could be 2 hours long. So
We're
I
gonna
feel like
cut and just keep talking to us.
if there's anything else we need to cover before we go, but if there's something we missed, you want to know in the comments, we've got David. We have
will
access
put
to him.
his
So
information.
ask in the comments, call us. We know how to get in touch with him. We know some stuff, you know.
If there's one thing I could
Yes,
say,
please.
what we get a lot of is in fact not homeowners saying, David, you're the first person that we're coming to talk about solar. It's, I'm about to sign this. Is this even good? And sometimes it is. And sometimes we say, absolutely. In fact, I cannot beat that price. I wish you all the very best. Sometimes we say, do you know what a PPA is before you sign this thing?
Please, for
say,
the love of God, don't sign that.
No. And we explain it. Some still move forward. Some change their mind and say, well, then can you give me a better deal to own? Now, we could pull another solar consultant off the street and they could say that they love the PPA and that they love the lease. It's completely subjective.
Yeah, none of us love it though. So
Well,
hey, if
okay.
you're about to sign the PPA, just don't.
Please
It's not
don't.
my, well, it's not my
We'll
favorite
say it. You
thing.
don't have to say it. We'll say it.
Please don't.
You're on our channel. Don't sign it.
So if anybody has or is on the, not on the ledge, on the fence of going solar, not too sure what they're about to get into, send me the contract. I'll give you an honest evaluation of what you're about
We'll
to
put
get
a
into.
link in the comments to getting in touch with you too, in case anybody wants to do that.
Absolutely.
So.
We really
Thank you
appreciate your
for
time.
Thank you
today.
so much.
So
for having
much.
me.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Like
Appreciate
we
it.
said, we could talk for hours more, but we'll save
spare
you all.
you.
Yes.
All right. See you next time. Thanks for
Bye.
joining.
Hit that like.